Back here at halftime in Kansas City, Children's Mercy Victory Field, part of the Swope Soccer Village, which is home to not just pro soccer, but thousands of youth soccer games each week, including the Brookside Soccer Club, with over 3,000 members, headed by Community Relations Director Sadie Johnson. Good stuff. Those kids one day want to play in a championship game in the NWSL. Well, here you go. The 2017 NWSL Championship tickets are currently on sale, $20 a pop. Championship held at Orlando City Stadium on Saturday, October 14th. Will be broadcast live on Lifetime, of course, with kickoff time to be announced at a later date. For more information, log on to nwslchampionship.com. All right, let's get you caught up on what was a great week last week with the best of the week in the NWSL. We start with the goal of the week. This was a big one. Come from behind win for Chicago against North Carolina. Julie Ertz, great header on what was a beautiful pass by Nagasato with the assist. Big time finish. They win 2-1. Save of the week, Houston Dash. Jane Campbell on the PK, shutting the door against Jess Fishlock, keeping them in that game. And now, player of the week, Shea Groom. She has been outstanding as of late. Reigning player of the week, and we see why. 2 goals and an assist, and their 4-1 win over Sky Blue. Impressive showing by her and this KC crew. That kept their playoff hopes alive, and they're still rolling. Now, Thursday night, there was some NWSL action here because of Hurricane Irma, so let's get you caught up on that. Orlando and Seattle. It was 0-0 into the stoppage time. 2 minutes into stoppage time, things get crazy. Ball played through to Alex Morgan. She's on a break, and she tattoos one across the keeper. Big time lead for the Pride, 1-0, but they've had a problem conceding late goals. So as great as this goal is, the 9th of the year for Alex Morgan, the reigning player of the month in August, it wasn't enough. They've got to find a way to shut the door late in games, and they couldn't quite do it. Jess Fishlock, the Welsh international, finds a way to get her head to it and pops it in past Ashlyn Harris. Beautiful assist by Naho Kawasumi, her 9th assist of the year. Game finishes tied at 1-1 between Seattle, who's chasing Orlando in the playoff race. Orlando in that top 4 right now. Let's take a look at your slate of games yet to come up. North Carolina can clinch a home playoff game with a win against Houston later today. Portland against Boston in Boston. That would be a big win for them, given some results. They also could clinch a home playoff game. And Washington and Sky Blues. Sky Blues got a last gasp effort to get in the playoffs. They must win that game against Washington. And coming up in 2 weeks, folks, remember we're on the break for the international break, but 2 weeks, Saturday, September 23rd, a great matchup of 2 playoff teams. Alex Morgan, I just mentioned, she is the reigning player of the month in August. She will be taking her Pride into battle against Christine Sinclair and the Portland Thorns. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Pride against the Thorns. Huge game coming up on Saturday, September 23rd, only here on Lifetime. But after the break, we'll get back to this game. It's been good so far. Allie and Jen break down the first half and look at second half adjustments. Don't go anywhere, folks. Be right back.
This broadcast is presented by authority of the National Women's Soccer League and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the National Women's Soccer League.
It is halftime here at Children's Mercy Victory Field in Kansas City, Missouri. No score between the Chicago Red Stars and FCKC. Jen Hildreth, Allie Wagner here with you at the half. And Allie, when we look at these two teams, let's start with Kansas City because the situation is a little bit more dire. They know they have to win all 3 of their remaining games to stay in playoff contention. What do you want to see from this team in the second half?
I didn't think it was terrible. First of all, I didn't love the performance for either, but with Kansas City in particular, I just thought that they need to go up-tempo a bit more. Yes, they were squandering possession. Miramontes served the box all day long, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think they can lump it forward and look to pick up that second ball and strike on frame, but a little more up-tempo, more options to play feed if they're going to, so they can build out of that midfield area, because right now it's rather direct once they get into the opposition's half, and it's about getting into that final third with numbers, with possession, for them to be at their best.
Forgive the hair. It's getting a little bit windy up here, but I think that's great stuff to look for Kansas City. Much better than hair conversation. All right, how about Chicago? Chicago, this is what's in front of the Red Stars. They win this one. They guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs. What do you want to see from the Red Stars?
Go out and take the game. I mean, they have the personnel. They have the ability to go up-tempo. I mean, you look at a Morgan Bryan Nagasato with Julie Ertz. I say you shift Julie Ertz into that 10 spot. I think those late runs out of midfield can catch FC Kansas City off guard, and I think FC Kansas City will be ready for it, but I still think Ertz is the player that can open this game up. Yes, Press has been effective, but she's been coming back. We thought coming into this matchup she was going to stay higher. Yeah. Nagasato was going to play deeper. I just think overall overall, change up the rhythm, good possession, but a little more up-tempo to get into that final third.
All right, a lot to look for there in the second half. This one's still there for the taking. Will someone come out of here with 3 points? We'll find out second half coming up as you're watching the NWSL on Lifetime.
I'm doing this renovation for my sister, Sarah. I'm 2,000 miles away.
I personally could never have done this by myself.
Once I looked at her profile and saw she had stellar reviews, I knew she was the one.
We just clicked right away. This is like a for real secret makeover.
I trust you. Don't mess this up.
I'm Ludacris.
Kristen Bell.
Kyrie Irving.
Jenna Fisher.
Mila Kunis, and this is my house.
We are just moments away from the start of the second half as FC Kansas City walks back onto its home field. No score between the Blues and the Chicago Red Stars. There you see some of those Texas A&M fans looking to get a high five from one of their alum, Shea Groom. Aggies will be at Kansas to play a match tomorrow, so they are en route at the moment. But how about this match? Allie gave you some great things to look for at halftime. Neither team has really grabbed hold of it. Only 3 shots total taken by both teams in the first half. 2 by Chicago, 1 by FC Kansas City. And where might we see Julie Ertz wind up?
I'm telling you, I just got to go to that 10 spot, I think, to open this game up. Make those runs out of mid. Win a challenge in the defensive third of the opposition. Those are where she's in her best, or at her best, I should say. But I still think both these sides have to change up the tempo. The final third, I know it's the most difficult part of the game, but they've got to get more numbers, get that rhythm going where it's a little quicker. Yes, you can lull them into sleep with your possession to get in the final third, but that's when things have to change. You throw the defense off.
And you can imagine that at some point in this second half, we are going to feel it, see it out on the field. Everything that's on the line, especially for Vlatko Andonovski and FC Kansas City. Do they want to keep their playoff hopes alive? They have to win to do that.
Well, I thought that was fascinating that Vlatko at the end of the half said, no, we're going to come out the same way we did in the beginning of the game. But he also wasn't happy with the way they came out in the beginning of the game. So I don't know if he's telling us the truth these days. Nonetheless, I mean, they've got to bring that energy to go out and grab this game, personnel and collectively.
Well, let's hear what Rory Dames had to say. He's with Dallin.
Thanks, Jen. Rory, just tell me what your message was to your team at halftime.
I just think we're stuck between 2 mindsets a little bit. Morgan and Yuki changed the dynamic of the groups a bit, so it's become a little bit slower and more methodical when we get it, and I think the other part of the group's looking to go a little bit quicker in transition. So we just have to find a better balance. There's definitely times that we could have gone that we didn't, and there's definitely times that we went that we could have kept it. So really it was just telling them to be a little bit more daring going forwards and take some more chances to get some players higher.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sounds good. Like that game plan.
We'll see.
Nice ball. Nagasato got in, got a foot on it. Looked like it might have been heading toward press. Yuki Nagasato, Morgan Bryan starting in the midfield together for the first time for the Chicago team.
I didn't know you could do that. Yeah.
Julie Ertz still playing in that 6 holding midfield role at the moment as Casey Short crosses it in. That's an easy grab for Barnhart.
He had only 1 player in the box on that service. And it will be interesting to see how Bryan and Nagasato react to those words at halftime, if they can change the tempo. I do think as a group it was more slow than it needed to be. Not just those 2 players in particular.
Shea Groom will take a shot with her left foot, but Alyssa Neer has no problem with the save. Morgan Bryan, just her 2nd appearance with the Chicago team after she had been out injured and was traded from the Houston Dash. But one thing that Rory Dames told us about Morgan, who was called back into U.S. camp for the upcoming friendlies against New Zealand, is that he gives the Chicago team the ability to switch shape without having to make a sub, and that's a change for them.
And he said you might not see it this year, but it's next year and the evolution of this team, being able to play direct, being able to possess. I mean, she offers them a lot of flexibility in style and formation. Huge asset.
With some space in front of her here. Tried to touch it over to LaRue. The offside flag went up against Sydney Leroux and FC Kansas City.
This is better already from FC Kansas City, and that's one thing you don't want to see if you're Chicago. Shea Groom running at you in that back line, and Leroux just gets her timing off with Groom on that last play. Good step ultimately by the back line of Chicago.
But will we see these players like a Sydney Leroux and a Shea Groom for Kansas City, or like a Kristen Press up top for Chicago? Will they be able to put their stamp on this match? Julie Ertz, the only Chicago player to have scored against FC Kansas City in their previous 2 matchups.
And I don't know that Press has been in the best position to be able to put her stamp on the match. She hasn't been sitting on that back line, getting service in behind. That last one was short, for instance. Until that happens, it's going to be challenging for her to open this game up.
Sydney Leroux hasn't had many opportunities on this other end either. And when she scores, it's meant good news for FC Kansas City. The Blues 5-0 when Leroux has scored a goal this season. 6-0 when she has either a goal or an assist.
And oftentimes it's some of the other things that she's doing to help this team get a result that you don't see on the score sheet, whether it's hunting it down defensively or creating the play before a goal is created for FC Kansas City, the way she did against Orlando Pride. It's all narrow right now for FC Kansas City. And that's very easy to defend if you're Chicago.
A little more pressure there from Kansas City, trying to keep the ball down in this end. Short up to Nagasato. Miramontes took it away. Sydney Miramontes making her third appearance of the season for FC Kansas City in place of Brittany Taylor. Out with an excused absence for her wedding. Gibbons is down in the middle of the field for Kansas City. She's gotten back up now as Moros tries to keep it in on this near sideline.
And the ball stayed on this near sideline because Scott didn't change the point. FC Kansas City is just staying in one flank, making it easy on Chicago again. I go back to getting a more expansive shape if you do want to possess it and get numbers for it. If you don't, if you want to lump it, okay, fair enough. But get those numbers in the box if you're going to do that and pick up the second ball.
Leroux defended there by Erin Gilliland, and the foul will go against Sydney Leroux. Sydney not called in to this most recent roster for the U.S. She was on the Tournament of Nations roster, though, for Jill Ellis, and that marked a big moment for Sydney Leroux, getting back in the international game after birth of her son, which caused her to miss all of the last season in NWSL. Neither team has had to make a change yet in this match. Chicago won the first meeting of the season between these two teams, 1-0 in the second week of the season on a Julie Ertz goal. And then Kansas City returning the favor, getting a 3-1 win at Chicago on August 20th. Sluggish start to the second half, and that's a word I think we might have used to describe much of the first half as well. Although we were being told no hydration breaks in this second half. They do take another temperature reading at halftime to determine if they're going to do that. Gilliland's ball into the air, punched out by Barnhart.
And again collided with Nagasato.
Nagasato's trying to curl a run in again. This ball's not going to make it to her. Love the effort, though, by Bryan. Nagasato is fouled by Katie Bowen.
And that's a moment right there that can open up a game. This is Nagasato just taking the initiative to beat her player, to spin her with that little step over, and Bowen has to foul. This is in a dangerous area, but that's the initiative you want to see from players individually, to beat the lines, to spring their team open because they now have numbers in a situation.
Well, Chicago has yet to score a goal from a free kick this season. It was something Murray Dames pointed out to us, his ineffectiveness of his team on offensive set pieces. Would now be a fine time to change that.
I mean, Press has the quality to do it. Just got to keep it on frame.
She'll pop this one just over the crossbar thanks to the glove of Nicole Barnhart.
And I say keep it on frame because so many times she'll sky it, but this one is just lofted. It allows time for Barnhart to shuffle over and get that touch on it.
So that'll be a corner kick for Chicago. We had just one corner in the first half, so this is the second of the match for Chicago. FC Kansas City has yet to attempt a corner kick. Loprico's service. Barnhart had her eye on it, then got a glove to it. Wasn't cleared very far, though. Ertz in the area. Now Press. Kristen Press to the end line. The cross, the shot, and it is right at Barnhart.
And it's always these reservices that cause teams to pick your poison on how many players were unmarked in the box. Poor defending by FC Kansas City. Here's that initial service that finds its way out on the redirection. Press picks it up, drives end line, gets her head up, and she had 2 or 3 options to find where does one of them. She makes good connection with the ball, but just doesn't direct it to the corner. Got to put that one away if you're Huerta.
One of the better sequences, though, from Chicago that I think we've seen in this match.
It came at the Achilles heel of this FC Kansas City team, corner kicks.
Mentioned it earlier that Kansas City has given up 8 goals that have started from a corner kick. That's the most in the league.
Here's better when you get your center back breaking the lines. Now you have numbers to spring Gibby out wide.
Gibbons, the cross, a little too close to Nair, who wants a quick start the other way. Through Huerta. Morgan Bryan. Plenty of room to work with. Wants Nagasato. Not quite the right ball.
No, and it's just in the flow and the movement of the defense. You've got to have Nagasato check, and you can instruct that as Morgan Bryan's on the ball. Tell her to come feet. So you've got to change up that rhythm of the back line. Otherwise, they're just absorbing, and they say thank you very much.
First substitution of the match coming, and it is somewhat of a super sub for FC Kansas City. Megan Kelly, the rookie from Marquette, has 4 goals and an assist on the season. This is her 20th appearance, just 3 starts since she's put those numbers up.
And in fact, she scored against this Chicago team. 3rd goal, I believe, in their last matchup. I like her presence around the goal, so it's a smart decision by Vlaco, I think, to get her in this early, to give her time to find the back of the net. Early adjustment.
And we heard Vlaco telling Dallin that he was telling his team not really happy with what he was getting offensively. Maybe Kelly can come in and make an impact there.
Well, she's going to have to do some defending early on here.
Gibbons having a long conversation with our referee, Michael Radchuk, as Chicago is looking to make a change as well. Taylor Camo standing over by the scorer's table. So now another set piece opportunity, and one thing this does for Chicago, it gets Julie Ertz into the area as a target. But the one who reaches up above them all, Nicole Barnhart, got her gloves to that ball before anybody else could get there.
She does so well with this because look at the traffic in front of her. I mean, she has to reach out and snag that one. Surprised she didn't punch it with all that traffic in front and be sure, but wow, stick them on those gloves.
And she got caught up a little bit behind Sofia Huerta, I think it was, and still managed to get out there and hang on.
Well, if you come, you got to make a play on it. She did a little something extra by holding on to it, that's for sure.
Barnhart holds the NWSL record for shutouts, consecutive starts as a goalkeeper. She's the all-time saves leader. The list goes on in terms of her accolades in women's professional soccer. Picked up the win against Sky Blue FC in what was her 100th regular season appearance last week. First goalkeeper to reach that mark.
Why did we have to wait, referee?
And that's something I don't understand by FC Kansas City. They have a free kick on this near side. They opt to play short, and then ultimately Al just shanks it out of bounds. You've got to whip it. The far side was wide open. It's too slow if you circulate it around the back to go over to Miramontes, drive it over there on that set piece.
Taylor Comeau does now check in for Morgan Bryan, a player who Rory Dames did not anticipate would be able to go the full 90, so he knew that was going to be one of his substitutions in this match as Bryan continues to try to get back to full health. Comeau, a very versatile player too, that can and has played several different roles for Chicago this season.
And it looks like she shifts initially to that left mid in the diamond in the center of the park, and Colaprico now will become the 10.
Sauerbrunn again playmaking. Second time we've seen that in this second half. Groom, the cross in front of the box. Scott's ball toward LaRue. Groom still trying to make something happen. Oh, Labonta just under her foot. Good possession here from Kansas City. Will they get something out of it? Labonta wants a reset.
There's a block of 4 defenders in that 18, the 4 mids in front. I know Miramontes is just getting that first look really in that outside back spot, but Chicago will continue to be happy if she just serves that in with no runners in the box.
Huerta has Gilliland making a run. Big collision as Sauerbrunn came charging in against Gilliland. Both of those players going full speed, and Sauerbrunn needs a moment.
Well, you talk about good cover. That's the left back, Moros, who gets beat on that slip ball. And then Becky Sauerbrunn just coming over. I mean, she's the opposite side center back who slides over because Yael's caught up and wins that ball and then goes to ground with the follow through of Gilliland.
She saw that ball get away just enough from Gilliland, didn't she, to decide she was going to make that run.
Yep, timed it perfectly, absolutely.
It's going to be Kansas City ball here.
And showed it in the pregame. This is where they've been effective. You get that first flick on, second flick on, and runners in behind. We'll see who wins the first.
Becky Sauerbrunn has been such a valuable part of the defense, both for club and country. Only player for the U.S. team to play every minute so far in this calendar year.
And going back to that service, I mean, Sydney Leroux was on Julie Ertz. Julie Ertz just walked right by her and won that first ball. You've got to challenge for it, or at least not let Chicago get it cleanly.
Gibbons will turn. Comeau nearly got there, but Gibbons heads up play to get rid of the ball first. Miramontes leading Groom. She gets the ball toward the area where LaRue was just around the outside of that 6-yard box. Casey Short's been tough to beat on that far side for Chicago.
But a better picture from FC Kansas City in that last attack. Gibbons sprung that weak side, and that's how they got in with Groom. We haven't seen Groom going at that back line enough against Casey Short 1v1.
Mentioned Shea Groom had the brace last season in Chicago when FC Kansas City initially denied the Red Stars a chance to clinch a playoff berth. She's also the current NWSL Player of the Week, offside on that sequence, but had 2 goals and an assist last week against Sky Blue FC.
And here's a look that's Scott dancing on it, and then Groom just looking down that line and a step ahead.
Shea getting a chance to play in front of her mom and dad here this afternoon. She's from Liberty, Missouri. Huerta. Boy, she has a lot of green grass in front of her. There's the cross. The header from press. Not on target.
And that's one of the few times Huerta's been sized up with a little bit of space and time on the ball. I believe that's Colaprico who springs her. And that was her just hiding behind that cameraman there. And here she goes, just flying down that right flank. Brilliant ball in the box because Press is holding that run, waiting to pounce on it, and the timing's great. She just got to head that back across the frame.
Press 34 goals all time in her NWSL career. That ranks 3rd behind Sam Kerr, who's having a tremendous year, potential MVP candidate as she's in the lead for the Golden Boot this season. Jess McDonald.
Potential?
I think potential. Not locked up yet, is it?
She's got my vote.
She has had a phenomenal year, and right now Sam Kerr of Sky Blue FC simply hoping they're going to have a chance to continue to fight for the playoffs. Sky Blue right now sitting on the outside looking in 6th place. They will play tomorrow against Washington, need to win to stay in contention.
And that's better from LaRue, challenging Ertz, not letting her get a clean header on that.
Sky Blue FC would only have to draw if Chicago loses here. The Red Stars want to punch their own ticket to the postseason. Huerta a little too long on the ball. Kelly came and took it away. Nagasato, Japanese international, World Cup champion. Kamo will cut in toward this ball. Try to get around Miramontes, who's making just her 3rd appearance of the season for FC Kansas City. Little jersey tug.
And I still go back to it. Why not test Miramontes more? I mean, that was brilliantly done by Chicago. I think Colaprico, since she's come into that 10 spot, has changed the game a bit for Chicago. You saw it in that last spell of possession. Changed the point of attack twice and got them in down that flank.
Here's Colaprico on the ball, the all-time assist leader at the University of Virginia. Member of the NWSL second 11 last season and the year before when she was named Rookie of the Year.
And here's where Colaprico is just trying to collect that, bring it down, and Labonta, I believe, comes in there and swipes her.
Yellow on Labonta on the play. Looking at my notes, so I didn't see any of that. Sauerbrunn. FC Kansas City, winners of 4 of the last 5, trying to keep their positive momentum going and keep their playoff hopes alive. Turnover, gets it to Kelly, trying to lead LaRue.
How good has Sauerbrunn been all day long with her stepping out of that back line, winning challenges out of the mid, covering him behind. Been someone to lift the level for FC Kansas City today, and always for that matter.
Labonte back to LaRue. You mentioned it before, but Kansas City very narrow once again as they try to work their attack up the field. Now Gibbons will switch it out to the far side. Miramontes service. An easy grab for Nair.
And that's better, but I still go back to, okay, if you want Miramontes sized up 1v2 in that flank, fair enough, but I don't know that that's the right decision. Give her some options. Let her play out of it.
Press is fouled. Nagasato's making a run for short. Will come back in, recollect, shoot it herself, bit high. Casey Short, former Florida State Seminole, gives us a chance to send our best wishes to all of those who may be in that path of Hurricane Irma. It's affected so many lives already in terms of people just trying to evacuate and get to safety. Nagasato's gonna get to this ball before anybody else. Press. Working hard in the box. Kristen Press has it taken off of her foot. Becky Sauerbrunn to the rescue again. Into the 70th minute now in Kansas City. Still no score between these two teams. It's so evenly matched their last few meetings.
And the game's getting a little stretched now.
Scott stepped in, won that ball, but then had a collision after the fact.
And Nagasato's been in the mix of a lot of these heavy challenges, and here she just leads with that boot up. It's the follow through that catches Scott, who looks like she's putting her head down to make a play on that. Both dangerous.
So no official hydration break in this second half, but now this will give both teams a moment to go get a drink, also get some words from their coaches. You mentioned Nagasato really has been in the thick of some of these big challenges.
Yeah, and this was the first one in the first half where Barnhart had to come off her line, made a play on it, got Nagasato in the process, and there she is again, just coming out from behind her. All eyes for Nagasato are on the ball, and she doesn't see these challenges coming. And right there, spins Bowen, gets in behind, draws her team a free kick in a dangerous area. They just don't capitalize, but she's been fantastic in terms of forcing those fouls, getting in the mix, being fearless.
Nagasato was signed in May, but was injured and just activated in August. This is just her 5th appearance and 3rd start of the season for Chicago. Scott back up and on her feet. Has not one but 2 water bottles.
Usually one's Gatorade, one's water.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for that little inside tip, Allie.
I got you, partner. See the tape? That's probably the Gatorade.
Okay. So we'll see if Scott is able to return. Certainly looks like that's going to be the plan, as she is hovering very nearby, our assistant referee. Quiet afternoon for Shea Groom, the reigning NWSL Player of the Week. Huerta with the takeaway from Moros. Camo. Sauerbrunn streaking through to win it.
Just been in the pocket of press of Nagasato all day long, reading those entry passes and snuffing them out.
Scott lets everybody know she's back. Nagasato sandwiched. And Averbush comes away with the ball.
And just so smart by Yael there to find Gibbons. Gibbons wanted to lead Miramontes into that space, but I don't know if she thought Miramontes wanted it, so she opted not to. But that flank is on.
Moros kept it for Kansas City. That gives LaRue a chance to keep pushing. The shot deflects. Katie Naughton will feel that one for a while, but she kept it out of danger. And then a foul from Averbush right at that midfield line. We'll give the ball to Chicago.
I mean, it's so smart tactically what FC Kansas City is doing against these front runners of Chicago, against those attacking mids. Just stepping in and not allowing them time on the ball or to face up for that matter. And that's Yael getting in right there. That leg goes through Nagasato. Makes a little play on the ball, but gets the player in the midst of it. And that's what Kansas City is doing a nice job of. It's not allowing them the ability to face up and run at their back line, disrupting their tempo tremendously in their build-up play.
Brittany Radcliffe has come on for Lola Bonta. She'll inject a little more speed up there. Former Virginia Cavalier. Got a couple Cavaliers out on the field. Colaprico on the other side. And Sauerbrunn, of course, for Kansas City, along with Radcliffe.
And if you want that work ethic, Radcliffe will bring that as well.
Tough play for Sauerbrunn to make. It falls to the feet of press. Camo. Wrong-footed Colaprico a little bit there. Will somebody step up as the hero in this match? The result will have ripple effects across the NWSL, depending on what happens here. Chicago with a win will be into the playoffs and will ensure that Portland cannot clinch home field, as there's the ball in the box. Averbush calmly takes it away. And for FC Kansas City, if they want something to play for, they need a full 3 points here this afternoon against Chicago. Otherwise, they're eliminated from the playoff race. Gilliland just kept at it and will pick up the corner kick.
And that last spell by Chicago was much brighter. Julie Ertz was the one who sprung Huerta 1v1 against Moros. Moros was getting the better end of Huerta, I think, for the most part of the game, but not in that instance. Huerta got in, served the box, press was on it. Now they've kept it in, cycled it back, and they've earned themselves a corner kick.
Barnhart has been so active with anything in the air in front of her. Let's see what Colaprico does with the service. It's out of the reach of Barnhart and out of bounds, and it'll be a goal kick. North Carolina Courage have a chance to clinch home field advantage in the playoffs as they host Houston tonight. You can catch that match exclusively on NWSLsoccer.com. Courage sitting atop the table with 42 points. The reigning NWSL champs, but in a new location and new franchise, as they were the Western New York Flash, winning it a year ago. Now the North Carolina Courage after relocating. And Paul Riley has done another terrific job with his group of players.
Come on, get in there. Come on, hey, let's go. Drop a little bit.
Steph McCaffrey getting set to check in for Chicago. Another ACC product collegiately, but she played at Boston College, was a two-time All-ACC first-team pick, and she will relieve Nagasato. I think we both would say we're a little disappointed not to have been able to see a little more of what she could do in this match.
Oh, without a doubt. We didn't see what she is capable of doing on the ball, in between the lines. She just didn't make her mark the way I anticipated, didn't allow press to stay high, didn't allow Chicago to build out through her ability to change it and her possession skills. But I think that substitution tells you what Rory Dames is doing, and that's going for the win. Putting McCaffrey in, that's an offensive substitution. I asked him when he'd make those changes. He said around the 80th minute.
And here you go. Camo, unfortunately, for the Red Stars, puts that behind everybody. They had 4 runners up into the box, but that ball went behind all of them. Here's Groom. Can strike in an instant.
And we haven't seen much of Groom all day long, but when she gets going at that back line, she takes Casey Short the way she doesn't want her to go, and that's cutting against that lead foot. You could see her just sizing up. In these moments, when you're going 1v1, it's about timing. It's about cutting against the direction where they want you to go. She gets short in that situation and then skies it, doesn't put the finished product on frame.
Shea Groom and FC Kansas City looking to keep their playoff hopes alive. A draw is not going to cut it. Saw the speed of Ratcliffe putting some pressure on Gilliland.
When Vlaco said he wasn't going to change anything, he really hasn't. I mean, the team is still approaching the game the way they started at the first kick. At some point, I'd expect them to go full bore and press higher up on the pitch to force a turnover.
Much can be decided this weekend in the NWSL before the league takes a week off for the FIFA international break. And next week, the U.S. women's national team will host 2 friendly matches against New Zealand. The first one will be on ESPN2 at 10 o'clock Eastern next Friday, September 15th in Commerce City, Colorado. Then on Tuesday, September 19th at 7:30 Eastern in Cincinnati.
Should be a fun spell for the U.S. to try to rebound from their performances at the last 2 tournaments here in the U.S.
I think, is there any pressure on this team to come up with something better after the disappointing performance in the Tournament of Nations?
I would think team, coach, everyone, yes, absolutely. Results are going to become important now that that exploration phase is over.
Camo with the service in. Sauerbrunn is there. Kelly for LaRue. Katie Naughton got there, but LaRue still on the ball. Sydney LaRue just unable to get going in the direction of the goal. So often we've seen her, she's having to cut back and just can't get turned back around.
I think an evolution for her individually is to draw a PK there. I think Katie Naughton might go in hard if she goes at her and uses that body, but she went away from pressure.
Kelly, who's been a super sub, can't get to this one. But Dallin, here you've seen some things tactically or heard some things from the Chicago side.
Yeah, the last throw in about 60 seconds ago, Rory Dames just switched Julie Ertz and Danielle Colaprico. So now Ertz is playing in the 10 role, Colaprico's back in the 6, as we talked about in the pregame show. Ertz playing that center attacking midfield as a late tactical change to try to go for the game. To Allie's point, they're looking for all 3 points.
Yeah, you like this, right, Allie?
Got a smile on my face right now. We'll see a little up-tempo, see her making some runs out of midfield. We want to see some goals, Jen.
That we do. Even the goalkeeper likes to see some goals. And both of these teams would like to see a little more offensive action as well. Offside.
And unfortunate that doesn't come off because Moros has space there. Just the timing of that overlap, the ball that was played into it, too slow.
Ratcliffe won that. Couldn't keep possession for Kansas City. Naughton. Solid defensively. Finds Huerta.
And you can hear Rory Dames or a coach on their bench yelling travel. So I think he wants her to take on in that space, fly down the flank, don't serve it from that deep position.
Shea Groom with Kansas City season on the line, trying to get around Casey Short and get the corner, and she does. First corner kick of the match coming in the 83rd. It'll officially be the 84th minute for Kansas City.
The last time Groom opted to cut inside Short. That time she tried to beat around the edge. And we've seen what a dangerous service Miramontes has in the flow of play. We'll see what she can do on this set piece.
There is the service. Nair! That was close, but up and over.
But you've got to give your team a chance in these moments. This is how you can break this game open. If you're not having success in the final third, it's set pieces, and that's just squandered. There's Nair. She's got it covered. She knows it.
If this result holds, Kansas City will officially be eliminated, as will the Houston Dash from playoff contention. And Chicago will still have some work to do to guarantee themselves a spot in the postseason.
Again, I can hear the bench for Chicago saying we can't all run away. They're just serving it from deep positions and giving it right back to FC Kansas City.
Shea Groom has both hands up in the air. Now does finally get the ball from Kelly. The NWSL Player of the Week, Shea Groom. 30 minutes from her hometown. Couldn't get past two Red Stars defenders.
Very well defended there by Chicago. I think if Shea Groom gets her that pace up and going at those defenders, doesn't spin out of it, she's going to have better luck. Like I said with LaRue, force the issue. Make them make a challenge on you. You're inside the 18.
Desiree Scott. Trying to turn on Colaprico. Out to Gibbons. She'll try it again. Better this time, but still to Nair.
Looks like Groom and Camo were getting into it in the box. Off the ball there.
Time so precious for FC Kansas City. Ratcliffe gets it over to Groom. She'll take the shot, and it's deflected out. It will be a corner kick for FC Kansas City, their second. Final change coming for Chicago is Alyssa Mott, a player who started 13 matches this season, has appeared in every match. She'll replace Huerta. Dallin was telling us that Rory Dames was begging Sofia Huerta to run at the outside backs. May not have felt he was getting that effort. We'll see what Motts can do.
There wasn't a warm reception on the sideline.
Better service this time. Headed, Nair had the save. She does it twice to keep FC Kansas City out of the net and potentially end their playoff hopes.
Well, Miramontes didn't get it right from the other side, but this and the rise up of Megan Kelly is all special, but Nair quick makes a reflex save on that.
But the corner kick giving an opportunity to FC Kansas City, something that they could not get for the first 80 minutes of this match, a corner kick opportunity. Can they find a way to work it up the field and maybe get another one?
This team is last in the league in terms of crosses produced, and it's because they don't get around the edge that often. It's very central, very direct. So you're not going to see a lot of corner kicks with them.
They also don't have any penalty kick goals. Only team in the league not to have even attempted a penalty this season.
That's surprising.
It is. They've been good at thwarting Chicago's chances from the penalty spot, though. Kristen Press has had 2 of them. One was saved and one went wide in the 2 previous meetings against FC Kansas City. Only 2 misses from the penalty spot for Press this season. Caffrey, far post, Gilliland lurking.
Haven't seen much from McCaffrey since her entry.
No, she's had trouble finding her way back onto the field for the Chicago team. This is just her 11th appearance. Ratcliffe. I love the effort. Scott is fouled by Ertz.
And Ertz knows she has to do better there. You've got a team squeezed into one side of the flank with numbers to defend. Just gives them an easy out with that free kick.
Haverbush up and over everybody.
And it looks like Camo is shifted into that right back slot with Gilliland now pushing higher up on the pitch.
Rory Dames talked about the value of versatility in his players, so Camo coming in, allowing Gilliland to be in that more advanced role.
And it looks like it's more of a 4-5-1 at this point with Motts and Colaprico sitting deep.
Here's Moros. Gilliland still doing some defending, but gives it right back to Scott. Scott toward LaRue. Sydney LaRue! Oh, the crowd liked the effort, but not on frame.
Oh, and this one was almost so special by LaRue. This ball in by Scott is nicely weighted, and LaRue just touches that perfectly, sizes up her half volley, but doesn't get over it enough. Almost a brilliant moment from LaRue.
Two minutes of stoppage time added on. And while FC Kansas City will continue to play 2 games after this one, they won't be playing for anything other than pride if they can't find a goal here late. A draw, and they are eliminated from the playoff race, as are the Houston Dash. Miramontes out of bounds on that lofted ball.
And what's fascinating to me as an observer is that you haven't seen anything change from FC Kansas City. Yes, personnel, but you haven't seen any lift in terms of pressure, where they're pressing on the field, playing more direct, throwing 3-4 players on that back line and just lumping it. Not much has tactically changed, and it's still the slow, methodical approach that we've seen all game long.
This FC Kansas City team is a 2-time NWSL champion, but they missed out on the playoffs last year. And it looks like that could be the fate again this year. Had a great push, winning 4 of their last 5, but that 9-match stretch without a win really put them in a pretty deep hole. Groom. Now Moros. Gibbons. Chicago has had its issues this year at times, giving up goals late. Ask Seattle. Reign with 2 goals in stoppage time to get a win over the Red Stars. Do Ratcliffe and the Blues have one to save their season? That might have been the chance. Nair on her toes and beating LaRue to the ball. Expect the whistle from Michael Radchuk at any moment, and there it is. 0-0 will be our final. So FC Kansas City is officially eliminated from the playoff race, as are the Houston Dash. Chicago will stay in the top 4 at the moment, but are not guaranteed of anything. Still with some work to do in their final 2 matches to make a return to the postseason.
You know, that point puts pressure on Seattle and Sky Blue, so it's not all doom and gloom for Chicago getting a point on the road, but FC Kansas City, I mean, you love the way they try to play. Just didn't see a lot of change in the impetus and the tactics to try to go out and get a result today. The personnel, the energy, all of it was just a bit flat, and I didn't expect that coming into this match. It looked promising 5 minutes in, and then everything kind of petered out.
Rory Dames and the Chicago Red Stars are going to have to continue to pick up points on the road. That's how they will finish out the season at Houston and then at Portland. And speaking of Houston, that was Morgan Bryan's last team. She's now with Chicago, and she's with Dallin.
Thanks, Jen. Morgan, this is your first start with this club, and how are you feeling in terms of fitness right now and your health getting back into this club?
Yeah, right now I'm obviously trying to get back to fitness, and my last weekend was 30 minutes, and we wanted to push on to 60 today, and for me it's just about getting back those minutes and touches on the ball.
How difficult is it to come into a team as talented as this and as deep as this so late into the season and integrate yourself in?
It's hard, and I think obviously it's a statement to this team and the talent that's here, and it's a team obviously I want to be a part of. There's so many great players, and I'm excited to be here and play in the playoffs hopefully.
What do you think you can do to help get you guys over that hump to the playoffs? Because this draw didn't quite get you there. What can you bring here in the final 2 weeks of the regular season to make sure you guys get in the top 4?
Yeah, I think the more we just settle in and we can combine and keep the identity of this team and move forward and score goals, I think if we can do that and we can gel on the field, I think we'll be a really good team going forward.
We'll take a look at the international break. You have that coming up next. As you go wearing the red, white, and blue, what are your goals for these upcoming friendlies?
I think obviously our goal as a team is to win them and to play some good soccer and perform. And obviously for myself, I'm excited to get back with the team, and I'm feeling more fit and healthy, so I'm excited to get back when we're in the crest.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I don't know that we saw Morgan Bryan at her best today, but you saw glimpses of what she can do in terms of sitting in that seam and holding possession, breaking pressure. There were some special moments out there, but now the final product, changing the point with a bit more pace on her passes, things like that will come as she gets that strength back in her legs and the fitness creeps up and she can get into better pockets.
So Chicago with the draw, eliminating Vlatko Andonovski's Kansas City team. They move up to 36 points, tying Orlando for 3rd place. We'll be back to talk it all over when we come back to Kansas City. But our final from Children's Mercy Victory Field, a 0-0 draw between the Red Stars and the Blues. Scoreless draw between FC Kansas City and Chicago in our NWSL Game of the Week on Lifetime. So what does this mean for the standings? Well, FC Kansas City is eliminated from playoff contention. Both Chicago and Orlando had a chance to clinch playoff spots this week. They didn't do it. Instead, they are tied at 36 points, still with some work to do. And this means that Portland has a chance to clinch a home playoff spot tomorrow at Boston. Just a few moments ago, Dallin caught up with a player who was really tremendous defensively in this match, Becky Sauerbrunn.
Thanks, Jen. Becky, this is a game you guys had to win to maintain your playoff lives. You're the captain of this team. How would you assess your guys' 90 minutes here?
I thought we had our ups and our downs. I think we had a really good chance at the end there with Megan Kelly in the header, and Alyssa came up really big on that. And I don't think we tested them enough, so it's a little tough. I thought defensively as a whole team, we did well. I think we made them make decisions that they didn't really want to make. And, I think we got ourselves in good positions. We just didn't have that final piece.
Last 6 games, you've only lost once. You have 4 wins in that stretch. Why did it take so long to get this team to get together?
I don't know. It's kind of a traditional thing for this team. We kind of find our stride, and the season ends a little bit too early. So if we could just extend the season a little bit longer, that would be great. But looking towards next year, we just got to make sure we find our stride a little bit quicker. And because I think we have the talent to make playoffs, it's just we have to find our stride a lot sooner.
What do you look to accomplish in these final 2 games here in the regular season as you look forward?
I mean, we're going to make it really hard for the teams that we play. Seattle's still vying for a spot, so maybe we can spoil their day. And then we've got Houston in the last game. So we're just going to try to win out and get as high in the standings as we can.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Kansas City will take on Seattle next week. The Reigns certainly still in playoff contention, at least for the moment. But you heard what Becky had to say. What did you take out of this match as far as they were concerned?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an honest assessment about their performance throughout the year and how they have to step it up sooner and the way they play. Sometimes it's hard to do that. But you saw glimpses of what they can do when they're at their best. And it's just about putting together more complete performances. And we're going to see what they can do against Seattle. I love when a player says, we want to ruin someone's hopes.
Yeah, get that chance to play spoiler. That is what FC Kansas City will be relegated to their next match as they are out of the playoff race. So let's take a look back, Allie, at some of the highlights of this one.
And there wasn't much early on. I mean, this was a recurring theme for Kansas City. Sydney Miramontes getting her first start at this right back position wasn't put on under a lot of pressure, and she was lifting these balls into the box and trying to create havoc, and it was just FC Kansas City couldn't make anything of those second balls. And this is something we didn't see enough of. Sydney Groom going 1v1 at Casey Short. We saw it twice. That time she got the better of her. Good service in the box. And then here was Chicago. They had some good spells of possession, but not a lot in the final third. And because of women like that, Becky Sauerbrunn was fantastic. You saw it on that cover play. But how about this last chance? That came off of a corner kick and a late flurry by Kansas City when they were able to get that chance.
Nearly had a chance to save their season there off that corner kick, but couldn't quite get it done. Sydney Leroux hanging out with Cassius on the field. And her team just not able to pick up the win and get those so needed 3 points here at home against the Chicago Red Stars. We've got a little more to talk about from Kansas City, so stay with us. We'll be right back on Lifetime. Kristen Press and the Chicago Red Stars unbeaten in their last 3, but Allie, I think they tell you they don't feel like they've been playing their best soccer.
Well, I think they're almost the most fascinating team at this point if they get into playoffs, because they have two massive pieces in Morgan Bryant and Yuki Nagasato coming into the picture, and how do they envelop them in their style of play is the question. I think they've got to figure out how they can get press high and use her to get in behind and then allow Nagasato the space and the time underneath and get numbers around her. You're going to see it.
Chicago will finish out the season on the road at Houston and then at Portland. We will be at Providence Park for that one. But in 2 weeks, the NWSL on Lifetime continues on Saturday, September 23rd, as Alex Morgan, who has scored 8 goals in her last 6 games, leads the Orlando Pride, who are right in the middle of the playoff hunt. They'll be hosting Christine Sinclair and the Portland Thorns, who are looking to secure home field advantage in the playoffs. Coverage for that one begins at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. We have the contenders on the air with our NWSL Game of the Week on Lifetime when we come back from the FIFA break. So be sure to join us. It should be an exciting finish to the regular season. And then we'll have the postseason for you as well, all leading up to that championship match in Orlando, October 14th. The final score in this one, a 0-0 draw, ends the season for FC Kansas City in terms of their playoff hopes. Chicago will have to earn it on the road another day. For Allie and Dallin, I'm Jen, saying so long.